All right, well, welcome to the series of videos covering the study guide for the Chapter 8 test. We're going to begin here with question 1. We're looking at a professional speed walker who can go 2 miles in 16 minutes, and we want to calculate the following rates. Rates is a key word here. Write down any calculations you had to make, and of course I'm reminding you throughout the study guide, this is my expectation on the test, that even if it's something that you can do in your head or you just punch into a calculator, I want to see that you're actually able to describe mathematically the work that you're doing. So the work that I do up here is pretty much what I expect to see you do on your test. So the walker is going at a rate of 2 miles for every 16 minutes. And remember that that is a rate. We're used to rates as unit rates, like miles per 1 hour or feet per 1 second. But there's no reason why you can't consider 2 miles, 2 miles per 16 minutes as a rate. The only issue is it's kind of a useless rate because we don't think of things in 16-minute intervals. We like to think of things in 1-minute intervals. So being able to convert this to a unit rate is really important. And that's the first thing that it asks us to do, calculate the following rates. What is the athlete's minutes per mile rate? So how many minutes does it take to go 1 mile, essentially? So in this case, we have our unit rate. Our unit is supposed to be the mile. Minutes, plural, per mile, singular. So its mile is going to be 1. And anytime we want to turn something into 1, we want to put that in the denominator. So I'm going to flip this rate around. Just as you're going 2 miles in 16 minutes, that means that you're going 16 minutes. For every 16 minutes you go 2 miles. So the rate is, the same. It's still just for every 2 miles you go 16 minutes, but this time we wrote as for every 16 minutes you go 2 miles. Hopefully you can see that these are interchangeable as far as a rate goes. They're not equal. 2/16 is the same as 1/8. 16 over 2 is the same as 8. So no, they're not equal. Miles are not the same as minutes, but they both describe the scenario. It depends on if you're thinking about miles or minutes. So what do we do with this? Well, we want to know miles per 1 minute, so we want to turn the denominator into 1, which you can do with our tried and true method of just multiplying the denominator by the reciprocal, 1 over 2, so that we know that this will become 1. Remember that this is 2 over 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So that's going to give us our denominator of 1 mile, which is what we need to find out our unit rate. That's not plural, that's 1 mile. And then the top, of course, you have to do the same thing, multiply by 1 over 2. Had I not multiplied the top by 1 over 2, I would have been changing this ratio, or this rate. And they're asking us to solve this rate, not a different rate. So because I'm putting 1 over 2 on top and the bottom of the fraction in the numerator and the denominator, I'm really just multiplying by 1. So that's something we've covered a lot in this class since I've been here. Hopefully it's starting to click in. I know it's kind of a confusing concept, but I really hope by now you're starting to see that this is a pattern that we can do really frequently. So 16 times 1 is 16, divided by 2 is 8 right there. Of course, the shortcut to circumvent all of this over here would just be to do 16 divided by 2 equals 8. Because when you do a division problem, you're essentially just turning this denominator into 1. Equals 8 over 1. So this would be enough work for me. But if you're confused about why that works, you want to think about the supergiant 1 method. Okay, so there is our first problem. Now the second one, what's the athlete's miles per minute, which is what we're more used to seeing. So again, we're going to go from this guy here. This is miles on top, minutes on the bottom. We want to find the miles plural. So it's 2 miles per 16 minutes. And then again, we need to turn the minutes into 1 at this point. So we're going to multiply again. This time we're going to multiply by something, turn this denominator into 1, which would be 1 over 16. And we need to do the same on top, or else we've changed the ratio. We can't change the ratio. So again, notice that we're still just multiplying it by 1. And I should point out, a lot of what you're going to do on this test is multiply by 1. So we'll have 1 minute in our denominator, which is what we want per single minute. And 2 miles divided by 16th is the same as 1/8. I went ahead and did some simplification for you. It would equal 2 over 16, and then that simplifies down to 1/8. 1/8 miles, which is essentially saying you're going 1/8 of a mile per minute. And that's your answer right there. And once again, if this is too much for you, or if you feel like you can skip all this, you could always just write 2 over 16, definitely label 2 miles over 16 minutes, and then just simplify it, solve it. The simplest way you can write that is 1 over 8. You can factor out a 2 from here and a 2 from here. 1/8 miles per minute. Same answer. This is the quick way right here. This is the reasoning behind it. You can choose either one to do. Finally, what is the athlete's feet per second? So I'm going to need to erase a little bit here so I have some more room. Here we don't have miles or minutes in our numerator denominator, so it's hard to figure out what you want to put on top and what you want to put on the bottom. But you want to make sure that you're recognizing that the second, the time. I apologize, I just had a student walk in, so I can't exactly remember where I was. I know I was on C, and I was saying that we didn't know what to put on top. What you want to note is you have feet, which is a distance on the top, and you have seconds on the bottom, or 1 second on the bottom. That's where we want to have it feet per 1 second. So you want to start your ratio out with your distance on top and your time on the bottom. So in this case, we have 2 miles per 16 minutes. And then we have to turn this into feet per second. And so the way we talked about this in class is you just have to multiply by a series of ones, versions of ones that'll get you where you want to go. And so if that sounds confusing, let me demonstrate this for you. The first one that we want to multiply, let's choose the one that turns miles into feet. So let's see. First we figure out that there is, we want the feet on top, and we want to put the miles on the bottom. And the reason for that is because the miles up here in the numerator and the miles up here in the denominator, they're going to cancel each other out. So really quickly, you want to know how many feet there are in 1 mile. So we'll just Google really quick, feet per mile. I always forget the exact number, and so I want to be smart. Oh, sorry about that. I was interrupted again, but we're going to continue the video. We have a rate of 5,000. Oh, I lost my pen here. 5,280 feet per 1 mile. And I'm sorry, I always forget that. So this is what this is going to end up doing is we can cross out our miles, and we're going to be left with feet per minute when we do that correctly. Because we have a miles on top and a miles on the bottom, they're going to cancel each other out. Just like when you do two numbers on top, 2 over 2 cancels out and it becomes 1. Miles over miles cancels out, and that leaves us with just feet per minute. Okay, so that's a new concept for you guys. I know it's confusing to imagine that words can cancel each other out, but it really works, and it's an amazing, amazing part of mathematics. So we're at feet per minute. That's what we're left with. We got rid of the miles. We're at feet per minute. So we're going to multiply it by 1 again. This time we're going to multiply it by a version of 1 that's going to turn our minutes into seconds, because we want to get with feet per second. So we want seconds to be down on the bottom, since the rate that we're looking for, I'm going to write it over here in another color. The rate that we're looking for is feet per second. So if what we're looking for is feet per second, then we need the seconds on the bottom. So we need to come up with a version of 1 that's going to leave seconds on the bottom. So we're going to do our 1 second down here. That'll leave the seconds on the bottom. And then on the top, remember we're doing, oh, I'm sorry, it's not 1 second. It's going to be 60 seconds per 1 minute. Why did I do 60 seconds instead of 1 second? Well, because look at this. This is just 1 right here. 1 minute and 60 seconds are the exact same thing, and I'm dividing one thing by the exact same thing. 60 seconds and 1 minute. So what's going to happen is these minutes are going to cancel out. And then what I'm left with is a relatively simple multiplication problem. 2 times 5,280 times 1 equals, why do it in your head or on paper if I've got a calculator, 2 times 5,280, 10,560, and 60 divided by 16 times 60. We just multiply across. 16 times 60, which equals 960. And so this is, let's see, 10,560 feet per 960 seconds. Well, we want to simplify that down even more. So let's just do that division problem. 10,560 divided by 10,560 divided by, sorry, not used to this calculator, 960 equals 11 feet per second. All right, so a lot to that problem, but again, it's all just about getting used to and manipulating ratios. So watch this video a few times, specifically this last part here, to make sure you're understanding this is just one. This is, this is just one right here. And this is your final answer, which we reduced down just by doing the division problem right there.